Citizens of Rome, bear witness to my glorious empire. I have become a Roman consul.
After 30 hours of playing Anno 117, I've built some pretty massive cities, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a full breakdown on the good, bad, and discuss, is this game worth buying? Huge shout out to Ubisoft for gifting a copy of this game so I could do this review. Now let's check out some of the epic buildings I made. Check out this aqueduct! Look at that, a marvel of engineering! I made a bathhouse and a forum. All of the little people, let's zoom in on them. Oh, check out my statue. I'm looking pretty good. It is complete. I have made the Colosseum, or at least an amphitheater. Let the games begin! But it wasn't always easy. No! My city's on fire! Where are the prefects? Why is there a plague? Who brought the plague? Probably some barbarian from Albion. Unrest? They're rioting. My population is leaving. I give you roads. I give you clean water. Why? This isn't Stardew Valley's big brother. This game is massive, complex, and has some incredible systems. Not to mention, it is gorgeous. And it does have problems, but after a nice 30-hour playthrough, I know exactly the type of player who's going to love this game, whether it's a buy now, a wait for sale, or skip. Let's break it down. Hey everyone, I'm Caveman, and I have thousands of hours in 4X and RTS games like Civilization, StarCraft, Age of Empires. I love these type of games, and I can say that Anno's scale has fully blown me away. I've not played any of the other Anno series before, so this is my first one. I didn't know exactly what to expect. I thought it was going to be a more in-depth turn-based city builder, but no, it's a full-out RTS mega game. There are so many mechanics you have to track at the same time, and it's a race because everything is moving. It caught me off guard, honestly. I started off wanting to play this game without the pause, because it felt like cheating to me coming from fast-paced RTS games, and it's not meant to be a turn-based game, so I'm like, I'm not going to play pause. This made it very hard. I wanted to dive deep into each mechanic, but enemies were growing stronger. There were fires, disease, unrest spreading. It truly feels like you're a governor of a nation, and the weight of every choice is on your shoulders. It is so immersive, where you build even the most intricate things like roads, or where you set up your marketplace, how you set up your supply lines, your resources, the populations you focus on. This is the most realistic city builder I've played. Obviously, I haven't tried like City Skylines or some of those that are more like simulators, but this, to me, feels like a city builder simulation more than an RTS game. And adding in that Roman-era flair of buildings like the aqueducts or draining swamps and holding festivals for Poseidon, it adds this amazing theme to build around. This, by itself, can be a game easily worth 30 plus good hours just to manage and learn the city building elements. And I'd say that's like 50% of the overall game. You have massive tech trees that you have to learn and grow with them. I love the way they expand, by the way. You unlock upgrades by gaining knowledge. This is typical of other population and building games. But there are nodes in each tree that unlock by doing particular events or interaction, which then can allow you to skip some of those and reach some of the other research opportunities further down the tree. It makes it feel a lot less linear, which I love. You have rivals or enemy players if you play with friends, which I haven't even tried yet because I still feel like a noob, and I don't have friends. Play with me. There also isn't a matchmaking service as of now, which is really sad, and one of the major complaints I have for the game. I was fully expecting live multiplayer service, maybe even a ranked system where we could battle other players, typical to other RTS games and Civilization. But the only way you could play is private lobbies, and it doesn't feel great to me. But the additional governors, NPC or real, in-game provide massive trade routes. They build counter navies and armies, which cause so much stress. If you're behind, you really have to balance the city building and military. It may not be like at the APM of a Zerg rush in StarCraft, but I feel the pressure the exact same. If you are focused on one island for too long, then a battle breaks out, you zoom over there, you forget to check one of your other cities, and then you realize there's a huge fire, your workforce has left the inflection point where you are now in a downward spiral. You cannot recover, and that city feels basically washed. This game can be so overwhelming. Now, once again, I didn't use the pause up to this point, and apparently that is common practice in the game. I was Diamond in StarCraft, so I probably have too much pride. I thought I could handle it. No! Everyone was pulling away from me. My fleet was getting wasted. I was running out of money, and my population was leaving me, so I had to go and restart. Still overly prideful, I decided to go on Veteran with the hardest NPCs. This was fine up until I realized how badly I had planned out my cities from the beginning, and then I had to figure out how to put in these massive late-game buildings somewhere in my empire. You don't get anything back when you break down the buildings if you play in Veteran. Once again, decided to restart and do a playthrough to learn all the buildings, all the tech tree, and other mechanics, and this was the game that I went through everything and truly built an empire. Needless to say, this game is full of decisions, more so than any other games in the genre that I've played. Other games have simple build trees that you can basically follow to the T, even in professional play. Like, it's literally like, build this building, do this, and you can like have that on your second monitor and you just follow it. Your islands and resources heavily change your situation each time. You are constantly having to figure out what to do next. There is so much player agency. I find this game, without pausing, is not meant for a casual player. There is so much to consider. You will feel it, especially if this is your first city builder RTS game. You will definitely find it. It's a lot to take in. Honestly, I'm not sure I can recommend this as an entry point for a 4X RTS. There's just too many moving parts. I would suggest going to a purely RTS game or purely 4X game like Civilization, unless you're okay with pausing the game. And honestly, it felt still really engaging and fun, even with pausing, to like go through all 20 of your islands and level things up, get everything planned. Then you go for a couple minutes, then you have to go and do it all over again. It's kind of like, it feels like you're just kind of like progressing over time with this. But I feel like the real audience for Anno are players who want that deep city building mechanics and meticulously making those tiny changes. Then, play for a few minutes, pause, and you're going to rinse and repeat that process. You don't want to be on a turn-based system because you want it to kind of go ebb and flow. Sometimes you want more time, less time. That is the kind of game, if you are that person, this is a buy for you. Hands down. It's incredibly deep. The graphics are amazing. Even with my 3080 laptop, it felt really, really good. And it satisfied me for everything I want out of a hybrid like this. With that being said, here are some of my cons. Some of these really frustrated me as I played. First one is just the general UI. It felt really bad at times. Some of this stuff was really hard to find. I would definitely say this is one of the worst parts of Anno, and it takes a lot to learn, and maybe I just didn't get enough hours, but even after 30 hours, sometimes I feel like I'm having trouble finding what I need. The mini-map is basically useless. There's no zoom of functionality, and I'm always finding the orientation to mess with my head, and when you click the north, it will reorient it, and that is quite a bit helpful at times, but this UI icon doesn't feel great when I'm trying to click on a specific thing, and the information on the map is just not helpful. Trying to coordinate units to go on quest locations feels like a hassle. Organizing troops and soldiers, it needs to be easier. There's so many better ways that this is done in other games. And when you do send troops to locations, you don't get any notification that they've reached their destination. So then you forget that they're there for several minutes, and you're like, oh shoot, these ships have been idle for like the last 20 minutes. That's a waste. Honestly, I don't feel like that worked great. And then on top of that, military elements, I really didn't like the military in this game. When you go into battles, it just doesn't feel great. It feels like it was something just threw on top of it. The actual combat looks kind of cheesy. It just doesn't feel clear if you're winning or losing, how these fights kind of interact. So that's kind of, I kind of wish it was just a better RTS true combat or turn-based. I think that'd be better in these situations, but it is what it is. The city building isn't perfect either. I found myself a little lost from time to time, not knowing how to resolve a workforce population problem. The analytics screen, which should be incredibly valuable, seems really tough to get a clear picture of what's going right and wrong, and it's just kind of super convoluted. Is it my needs that are not being met, or is it certain population buildings that got burnt down? It's really tough to see what's causing these population unless you click literally on each individual building to understand what the issue is. Maybe I'm just stupid. I'm a noob. Feel free to comment below some of your tips and tricks. I'd love to make a tips and tricks video on this. But I also just really wish they had an encyclopedia so you could search different terms and elements. There's really good, like Civ does this really the best, I would say. Like, you can search anything, it gives you can find certain things, really makes it helpful for when you're learning the game. And if anyone's new to this, like, they need that. I found it also really frustrating to need a resource, and then if you click on it in the UI, it doesn't pop to that building. Then you have to like figure out, okay, what building was that resource in that chain, and you have to kind of like click through. I just felt like I was wasting a lot of time like sorting through all the tabs. There's also a little bit of an importance on learning key bindings, so you do need to learn them. Otherwise, just using your mouse, it can be a little bit difficult in this game. And I know some players just want to be able to click and you know use WASD. That's it. And so you have to learn like, hey, you're holding Shift, Alt. There's a couple different key bindings that'll help you save a bunch of time, like upgrading. That's definitely something that you have to learn, and maybe if there's ways to improve that process so it's not as click intensive, that could help as well. There's buildings that need like a forest or a specific tile. Sometimes I find that it's kind of hard to understand how many more forests you can have until it starts to break it, and I wish you would actually show that exact number throughout instead of just that the area that it's near. That would help so you know you're not encroaching too much or breaking their efficiency. I also have to talk about the campaign. I was not a fan. Like, maybe playing StarCraft 2's campaign, like, heavenly, chef kiss, but like, it's nice that they had these voiceovers from all the different characters and the story and the situations, but it just didn't feel engaging or on theme. Like, the main characters, I played as Marcus. He just seemed like the super weak dude. I didn't want to play as him. Like, he's supposed to be a governor of a Roman Empire. Like, what a joke. I didn't feel rewarded for actually doing the campaign quest. It actually, like, anytime you focused on that, it didn't progress the storyline, and you'd be like, oh crap, well, I wanted to do all these other things first, so that kind of sucked. And it just kept taking away from the enjoyment of learning how to build. I would say those were like just pushing other things that you didn't really want to do at that time, and I think that they need to either change the pacing or incorporate it in a different way. That wasn't great, being constantly barraged by these annoying quests. I hate to compare, but StarCraft, there's so many good things there. And I think Anno can do so much better with the Roman gladiator themes. They could really kill it, and I just don't think they did. So, needs a pretty big overhaul, in my opinion. The diplomacy page was also really tough to decipher. There should be way clearer ways to break this down. You can't see what's causing them to like you or not like you until you start to try and pick like a trade alliance or anything. So it'd be a lot easier if that was like clearer. As you just hover over them, you can see what they like about you, what they don't like about you. That's a very simple one. A lot of these can be resolved, and they might be just over time, when the next DLC comes in. But man, 10 hours in, I almost quit. I was like, okay, the campaign's good. I like the building. I don't like the campaign. I like what I've been doing in the campaign for the first 10 hours. Let's just try one more time. Let's go in the endless mode. And I hopped in there, and it just totally changed the game. I loved endless mode. It made it feel so much cooler, so much better. And that is where I really think it takes off. My intention in this video was to do a 10-hour playthrough and then crank out a review. This is going to be a repeatable format I'll try to start doing here on YouTube. If you like that, please hit that subscribe button and like. But there's so much of this game that I had to play 30 hours, and I fell in love with it and ended up I just want to talk about the good some more, particularly on the population, how it levels up. This chain of growing from just a peasant to a patrician, that is so cool. You need to focus on the needs and the food, the clothing, the public service buildings that are in range. This is so cool, and it makes it really complex and difficult to understand, okay, how do I build this population up? Because to provide for them, I need a whole bunch of peasants, and then, the next tier up and goes up, and then when you go to Albion, then you have like a whole branching kind of thing that goes for the nobles and the aldermans. This is really, really interesting because one population will help you build these sluice gates, which is incredibly important to covering and getting rid of the marsh, which honestly is one of the coolest elements in the game once you actually understand how it works, and it helps clear up the space, making these islands actually useful because it is difficult in Albion. Like, it is a tough area to live in. You have to push populations, and the culture's different, and it's just really small. And it's tough, so it feels good to go there, and that just improves it. The buildings in general are just so cool in both regions. Like aqueducts, can I say aqueducts again? They are just so cool. Probably my favorite feature in the game. I ended up splurging on history aqueduct shorts after this, just learning everything about the ancient history of them and actually how they were used. And there's still one used right now that's still active, stuff like that. But really, really cool. Trade routes are tough to learn, but they are really cool once you understand and get them running. They clearly demonstrated the power of trade and how that actually progressed major cities like Rome and stuff like that. It's crazy to think how one city needed 100 different islands so that they could make like the Colosseum or some of these big late game buildings. And I'll mention getting resources from one province to another in this game from Albion. Like, it almost made me break my keyboard. That was another one, definite big con. I just don't understand, how do you send a ship just to the other region? Do you have to make a trade route to make it happen? It was kind of annoying. Feel free to comment below if you understand how that works. Really, really frustrating. This game, just in general, also just taught me a lot about what makes cities grow, and kind of like how civilization teaches you about history and makes it in wonders and how they kind of grew throughout the eras. Anno just dives really deep on one civilization. That's really kind of cool. The game is also just really beautiful. I really, really enjoyed that. I know some are claiming, it's AI art or reused assets, but it's my first Anno, and I think it looks great. And I'm personally not someone who's against AI. I think that it's going to speed the progress of games. It's going to make them hopefully cheaper and better. I just want good games. All right. Like, I really don't care how it gets there. Obviously I don't want people stealing people's work, but using AI to generate different things. I think there's going to be some really good visionaries who didn't have, maybe the skill set to make their own game, but if they had the mind for it, they could come up with a unique game that no one's seen before, and I think that's going to be really cool, and I hope to play some of those games that come out by one developer, kind of like Stardew Valley and how that kind of grew from one person, just really diving deep and growing that. So I might do a video on that later. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. But with that being said, I think I could dump 100 to 200 hours easily into this game. I think this is definitely a buy for players who love and want a hybrid of RTS and city building. This is right down your alley. If you're new to the genre but are interested, I'd probably suggest waiting waiting for a sale, or if you have Ubisoft Plus, that's a great opportunity to get in here, get your feet in. If you want something more simple, casual, I don't know if this is it. This is kind of on a different level. Like, go play Stardew Valley, something a little bit more simple, because this is quite drastically different. But that's all I've got for today. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Caveman, logging off.